on mute.
Welcome to the afternoon constitutional, reconstituted, rebooted, whatever. All the cool TV shows are getting rebooted, but unlike all of those, I don't have writers, so we can continue to do live content. And just a quick note, if you are a broadcast network in search of content that isn't a rerun of something you ran last September, we are available, and we have striking writers discounts available for you there. Of course, brought to you by the Government Accountability and Oversight Group, govoversight.org. We are the sunlight. I know that sounds like a 60s song, but we are, and we are the ones who make FOIA a four-letter word to the folks who hold office. Oh, yeah, no. I know that FOIA is technically a four-letter word, but to them it is. To that, we've got a lot to cover this morning. VHSL, another four-letter acronym. The Virginia High School League has weighed in on the idea of paying athletes for endorsements. So apparently name, image, likeness has filtered down to the high school athletes level. Also, Allen, and I think Allen, the law firm in Charlottesville and Richmond is back with their annual Hometown Heroes program, and nominations begin. So we're going to talk to some of the attorneys there. But I want to kick off with a story because far be it for me to lie on the couch of Dr. Schadenfreude and take any pleasure when somebody else has to go through troubles and trepidations. But Dominion Energy has just admitted, not in so many words, that Steve Hainer was right all along. Steve Hainer, the incredible reporter from the Thomas Jefferson Institute, thomasjeffersoninst.org is where you find them. Steve, welcome back to the program. How are you doing, sir?
Joe, I'm glad to be here. Thank you. It's nice to get the invitation.
So, as I understand it from reading your column, Dominion has gone to the government overseers and said, we need more natural gas plants because the solar and all the renewable stuff that Governor Northam wanted us to build ain't going to cut it. I'm sure I'm oversimplifying it, correct? But tell us what happened.
Well, again, it's not so much that the solar and the wind don't work, but they can't work all by themselves. They're not going to be able to carry the load every day, 24/7. And everybody who's paid any attention has known this. I will take no credit for insight on this. This is pretty basic stuff.
Well, you were at least the one that was reporting on it. I mean, I'll give you credit there. Where a lot of other folks were sort of, if they did report on it, they were just carrying your story anyway. So.
Well, I appreciate that. The utility is required by law to do planning, to bring those plans to the regulatory group, the State Corporation Commission. Usually they bring it every year, every couple of years, and it, about 15 years, 20, 25 years, what do we need to build? How are we going to meet the load?
Mm-hmm.
What combination of coal and natural gas and wind and solar and battery, and how much we're going to buy from the utilities. It's just a plan. It's not set in stone, but they've been doing it for years, moving more and more towards wind and solar and keeping up with the General Assembly's requirement that they retire all of the natural gas and all of the coal. Well, the other day they dropped in a new plan, and suddenly they're back to adding natural gas.
Mm-hmm.
And where they've been hinting at the possibility of maybe some nuclear in the 2040s, now they're talking about adding new nuclear in the 2030s.
Mm-hmm.
And be a great interest in the Charlottesville area because one of the most likely locations for building a new nuclear plant, even the small modular technology, would be right there in North Hannah 3 in Louisa County. So, because they've already got space there, they've already got the power lines there. So why not put these modular reactors right there next to the existing reactors? So that's a strong possibility.
Well, and certainly they also have the safety controls and all the other things that people can turn around and say.
They've got the trained technologists, they've got the trained staff who's used to working with nuclear technology. So anyway, it is an admission on Dominion's part, and they said it outright in the report that with all the growing demand and with the signs that the wind and solar are intermittent, and everybody else around them is going to wind and solar, they've got to have baseload generation. And this is going to kick off a huge argument because the other side won't agree to this.
Well, and you talk about sides in this. At the end of the day, we all have to plug into something in the wall, and that's where I feel like this has become more about putting a check mark in the win column rather than doing what's right for the citizens of the Commonwealth of Virginia. This sounds Dominion's request very similar to what Governor Governor Youngkin said in his all of the above energy requests, including the modular nuclear plants.
Yes,
is that
yes.
coincidental?
And it's kind of a chicken and the egg. I'm not sure who planted the ideas with whom, but there's no question that what the Dominion announcement yesterday looked an awful lot like his energy plan back in the fall. And there's no question that before the evening had ended, the governor put out a press release. I had never seen a governor put out a press release on an integrated resource plan.
Right, but this is an important thing, and I think it's something important to remind that all of us are going to be impacted by this, Steve. I mean, this is something that we all use, but it disproportionately, as you've told us plenty of times, will hit the poorest amongst us more than anyone else because we're the ones who are paying the biggest cut of our take-home pay for our energy.
One of the things the plan has to do is project future bill impacts. So it does that, and it's talking about a bill that was $117 a month, say a typical 1,000 kilowatt hour bill for a household, with $117 a month. Dominion projects that's going to go up to $175, by the mid-2030s. The SCC has a different methodology, and they predict it's going to be $235.
Oh my gosh!
It's going to double. So again, yes, the impact is huge, and it'll be even more upsetting if you're spending that kind of money for electricity. And like you said, you get this notice saying, oh, by the way, please don't run your air conditioner today. It's too much power. We can't have the air conditioner.
Which is what they're telling me in California, yeah.
Yeah, don't plug in your electric vehicle today. Please don't charge your electric vehicle today. We can't do that today. Do that tomorrow.
Well, talk about this in terms of, was Dominion just chasing the tail of the cool kids when they went along with the original Governor Northam's Clean Virginia 2050, and they just said, well, this is the way of the West. We better do what they want, whether or not we think it's going to work or not? Or are they doing the same thing now? And this is just a case of whoever is in power is going to lay out these things. And these are plans that take decades to fulfill. So I don't know if it's a good policy to have an energy provider kind of jumping at whoever happens to get elected governor.
To some extent, that kind of depends on us because we, the people, we, the citizens, we, the consumers, need telling them what we want too. I mean, Dominion's I think it's possible to claim that, to worry that they're kind of blowing with the prevailing winds.
Pun intended.
Yeah, pun intended. But at the same time, we are the prevailing wind. And if the public is telling them reliability really, really matters, if the public is telling them that, some natural gas is not the end of the world. There's an old saying that I learned years ago about the enemy, the perfect being the enemy of the good. Mm-hmm. And these folks who want no nuclear and no natural gas, no fossil fuels at all, looking for the perfect, well, they're our enemy because that's destroying the opportunity to make some real progress and to actually improve the environment without actually ending our economic strength. And compromise is possible, and compromise is not a dirty word. And we need to send that message both to the legislature and to the electric company.
So, is this feasible? As you look at this, is this something with some engineering planning in it? Is this, hey, just give us the okay? We know how to build these natural gas plants. We'll work with the Navy people about the modular ones, but we certainly know how we can fire this up. And how long would something like this take, Steve?
Well, this plan again talks about a new natural gas plant by 2028, which is just 5 years away. Mm-hmm. So they would much have to apply for that in the next year or so. They wanted to build that by 2028. The modular reactors are 10 years away in this plan. And again, that's aggressive. I mean, I think it may take that long to have that technology. As you said, the technology for the modular reactor is pretty similar to what they put in the nuclear submarines, pretty similar to what they put in the nuclear aircraft carriers. So,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's very viable. But again, what we don't know is how much is it going to cost. That has not been worked out. And with all these things, the first couple of times you do it, that's when it really costs.
Oh, yeah.
You do it a few times and learn from your mistakes. You start getting the price down. So I don't want to be, I mean, I've said all along, I don't want Virginia to be, despite the governor's happiness in saying this, I don't want to be first with the SMRs. I want to see a couple other states do it first, and then Virginia can follow on.
Well, as you mentioned, even with the offshore, as I call it, Ralph Northam Memorial Wind Farm, I mean, there are plenty of places who are doing it differently, and that we just seem to, at the time, decide we could do it better ourselves. What is the latest on that? I saw that there's some folks. We talked to them yesterday with CFAC. They hired a plane with a banner behind it saying "Save the whales, stop the windmills," so I don't know if that's continued, if they're going to be flying over Virginia Beach, Steve. But what's the latest on this bugaboo out in the ocean?
The Dominion actually posted an update on that within the last few days. They're moving right ahead. They still plan to start building in a couple of years. They are still waiting on some federal permits. The big federal permit hinges on the environmental impact statement, which still has not been finished. There's been a lot of discussion about that, a lot of comments filed, but so far, the federal government, the BOEM, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, has been basically rubber stamping these things and saying, "Oh, there's no big no big environmental impact. The whales are going to be fine. The whales are going to be fine." So I don't expect that to be an impediment. I think there's going to be more focus on the second wave. There's another wave they want to build. I think that's going to be much more expensive than the first wave. They're still claiming this will be $10 billion, basically. Again, we'll see.
Not chicken change.
What they're claiming.
But with this, and again, we're talking about things that are decades in the planning. What about the folks who have put a lot of money or committed significant amounts of land or taxpayer dollars into some of the solar arrays that we see going up around Louisa? Albemarle County just voted for them in our immediate area, and there are a lot of them going up around in the Commonwealth. Are they still part of the plan and just a much smaller percentage of it?
They are still part of the plan. Dominion in this plan, by building the natural gas, by building these modular reactors, it will use fewer solar panels. It's not asking for as many solar panels over the next 10 years as it was before. You see some approvals, seeing plenty of denials too. There are plenty of places where these projects are in trouble. A big one in Chesterfield is in trouble because in this case, it really is in a protected wetland. There really are some unusual plant species and animal species in that swamp. So they have some real environmental problems with that one. I think that one's kind of on life support. So it's getting harder and harder to find huge tracts of open land do this. And I think the idea of getting another 20,000 megawatts for Dominion is going to be pretty hard. I don't think they're going to get there.
Well, especially as more and more communities are jumping up and down about the affordability of housing and that there isn't enough land to build the affordable housing on. I suggested that the Albemarle County one take the 200,000 acres and build houses on them. 2,000 acres, pardon me, the 2,000 acres, build houses on them, and then slap solar panels on the roofs of those affordable houses if they so insisted. But when you look at where we're going now, are you thinking that this is a more logical approach to it? Yes, natural gas is clean, certainly safe, and modernly built nuclear plants like the ones that sail all around the ocean. The USS Gerald Ford just set sail the other day with one. This can be a safe future for electricity, at least keeping some of our electric bill money in our pockets.
Well, again, I think it's safe. I think it's reliable. When it comes to nuclear, you have to admit it's not going to be free. That stuff's fairly expensive too. But the good thing with a nuclear plant is you get 50, 60, 70 years out of it, not 20, 25, 30 years out of it. So I think that's I've thought for some time that if you really are worried about the carbon dioxide, if you really want less carbon or no carbon energy, nuclear is your solution. I
Right.
don't understand why people seem to fight that, but they still do.
Well, it's ask the folks who made all those wonderful movies with Dustin Hoffman and Jane Fonda. The last question is really about the grid. So Dominion's statement was about, hey, the power generating isn't there for all of this, so we need to go to this. What about the grid? What about the power lines and the areas? Are they getting enough access to this so that they can't plausibly come back and say, I'm sorry, the grid is overwhelmed, so again, don't plug in your Tesla tonight?
Well, again, that's part of the problem. That cropped up back in the winter before Christmas, when it got so cold so fast, unexpectedly, and they were having trouble within PJM moving electricity around from place to place. Again, if you want all these distributed solar facilities, if you want this offshore wind, that means a whole lot more power lines.
Mm-hmm.
And enough, the power lines cause more of a stink with the public than the plants do. That's going on in Virginia Beach again. There's an offshore wind project planned off Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, but the power line will come ashore at Sandbridge in Virginia. And so there's a meeting this week down in Sandbridge because the people are really furious about this big giant cable complex coming ashore. I don't know if you know Sandbridge. There's this little commercial area right in the center of it. It's basically a shopping center. There's a restaurant. There's a store. There's condos and a big parking lot. And that's where they want to put these cables. They're going to tear up the parking lot.
So the environmental impact, I thought it was interesting. You mentioned the wind turbine field needing environmental impact statements and such. And I know that our friends who are part of the green movement love the environmental impact statements when they can use it to stop a pipeline or a road project. But if it's in the way of a wind turbine, boy, they downplay those environmental impact statements. Wetland. It's going to be wet underneath the solar panels.
They are wrong about these whales. This is not going to do the whales any good. The more I read about this, the more convinced I am that if you really do care about an endangered species, the North Atlantic right whale is there's like 300 of them left, and this is not going to be a good idea.
All right, it's right in their breeding path. I had one cetacean biologist tell me, Steve. So is this that confrontation you mentioned? The folks in Sandbridge and their shopping center. We've seen it wintergreen with the wind turbines they wanted to put there, and now the wind turbines being so far out in the Atlantic Ocean, so nobody can see them. Is this a movement of?
You'll see them. There's no question. You'll see.
You will see them. Okay, because it seemed like all these plans seem to continue to evolve towards we want green energy. We just don't want it in our neighborhood or where it's going to impact our viewshed.
Well, that's the problem. And again, you could build beautiful turbines along the ridge lines of the Blue Ridge of the Allegheny Mountains. They would get wonderful wind, just like the wind they get in California. But again, people would be up in arms that that one little project in Botetourt County, Apex, still not built. They've been talking about it for years. It's still not built. So
it's always going to be the case. Steve, what are you working on at the Thomas Jefferson Institute? What other stuff is being covered and that you're looking under the table?
Well, we're paying very close attention to the stalemate on the budget. There's no question Virginia should be adopting this budget, basically following the lines of the House position, with a fair amount of new spending, but some very, very needed tax relief. Most of the tax relief should be aimed at the family level, should be aimed at standard deduction, things like that. I think that's a huge issue. The Thomas Jefferson Institute is very concerned with education and educational choice. I think you'll see some more discussion about that. Yeah, it's an election year, so all these issues are going to be heavily debated and on the forefront September, October, November, and the voters need to start paying attention.
and holding them to whatever they promised on the campaign stump. Steve, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I do appreciate it, and good luck again. Thomas Jefferson INST.org. Don't make the mistake your humble host made, which was write out Thomas Jefferson Institute.org. And Steve's like, hey, that link, I haven't got any yet, so
I haven't. It's kind of nice to be back on Zoom. It's been a while since I've been on Zoom.
Well, it looks good. And thanks again for everything you do. Thomas Jefferson Institute, and it's online, thomasjeffersoninst.org. Have a great afternoon, Steve.
Thank you, Jeff.
And I want to get into a couple other things, and we're going to get into the very concerning, to me anyway, it's very concerning, this issue with name, image, likeness, because what we see with the name, image, likeness program is student athletes at the collegiate level are saying, well, you know what, the $40,000 or $100,000 worth of scholarship isn't worth it to me anymore. And I have some very scholarly folks who tell me that they are selling themselves short. But full stadiums, 110,000 people at Joe Paterno Memorial Field at Happy Valley are going to convince people somebody's making some money here, and very much akin to the writer's strike, where people are saying, well, these Netflix shows and these streaming shows, they're making all this ton of money. Where's my cut there? And so it's going to be an issue. But it surprised me when I saw that Dr. Billy Haun of the Virginia High School League, VHSL, was going to hold a moment on how the name, image, likeness program is going to impact high school athletes, and I said this was something we needed to look into. So I jumped into a press conference webinar on the subject with Dr. Haun.
Schools, the ruling has generated expansion of name, image, and likeness opportunities for high school students nationwide. The Virginia High School League proposing legislation to help guide members, parents, and students, and to clarify how student athletes may engage in NIL activities for financial gain and still retain the athletic eligibility under the VHSL regulations. That is an important slide right there. The VHSL policy is not a policy giving permission for NIL to happen. NIL is already here. We already have teenagers, high school age students who have been offered NIL deals. And those NIL deals aren't coming through the schools. Those NIL deals are coming through other opportunities where students are out playing, whether it be some kind of a rec league or an AAU or travel league. So we did not pass a policy today to say, yes, you can do this, no, you can't do this, because I don't feel the Virginia High School League has the authority to do that. What we can do is provide some guidance for our student athletes and for their parents and for their coaches that will help keep students eligible and to not violate Virginia High School League policies on eligibility and being an amateur. So, name, image, and likeness. This first slide right here, the first 4 paragraphs, I can't emphasize how important each of these paragraphs are. The first one, students may receive compensation for commercialization of their own name, image, and likeness. That's what the Supreme Court ruled for the NCAA athletes, which has trickled down to the high school league, to high schools. Second paragraph, common NIL activities include, but are not limited to, commercials, product endorsements, personal appearances, autograph sessions, merchandise or apparel, sales, group licensing, and acting as a social media influencer. There's a lot in that slide right there, in that paragraph. What is the most common NIL deal that's happening for college students, and which many of the experts say will be the same thing for the high school athletes, is social media. Being a social media influencer. About 79% of all of the athletes that have NIL deals now are in the social media world. So we hear about those big endorsements about a product or whatever, but there's not that many of those big deals taking place. Most of the deals that are happening through social media. Now, let me go back and talk a little bit. What does many of the deals look like? Well, the numbers from college athletes, and again, this is data that was shared with me from one poll that was taken, is that about 1.5 to 9.5 of all college athletes, and that's the projection for high school as well, is that about 1.5 to 9.5% of high school athletes will participate in NIL. It's not going to be 50% of the athletes. It's not going to be 25% of the athletes. It's going to be a very, very small number. The other thing I want to talk about when we're talking about opportunities for NIL deals, Open Doors, which is one of the NIL marketplaces that people are using, did a survey in July 1st, 2021. The average compensation for student athletes, and this was at the college level, was about $1,300 per activity. That number is skewed a lot because a lot of the large deals, that was an average. The same poll figured out that the median compensation, or reported that the median compensation for athletes is about $61 per activity. So a lot of the things that we think about when we hear NIL, we're thinking about big deals. There's not that many of the big deals out there. There are some opportunities, and again, a lot of them are in social media. So let's come to number 3. School teams may not use NIL opportunity to incentivize a student's enrollment at a school or a membership or on a team. So I hope that one statement right there answers a lot of questions.
In other places, in other spaces, see Paige Spiranak or I forget the gymnast from Baton Rouge, from Louisiana State University. They have massive followings for a couple of obvious physical reasons, and they, as one listener told me, "Come on, Joe. Sports Illustrated sells how many copies of their swimsuit issue, and how many other times during the year does Sports Illustrated pay any attention to anyone in a swimsuit?" And point well taken. Outside of the Olympics, Sports Illustrated rarely covers pool sports, except for their best-selling swimsuit edition, which if I'm not mistaken, don't even contain swimsuits in many cases anymore. It's body paint and something. But the point is, the concern is, as you know, this grows in the social media circle, as this grows in the social media area, parents need to be aware of what winds up driving the influencer on social media. And we're going to explore this a little bit further as the week wears on, because I wanted to see what the Virginia High School League was going to say. And they said pretty clearly, listen, you know, we've been told by the lawyers, because the Supreme Court has upheld name, image, likeness for college players, we can't stop it for high school players. But the scary scenario is for parents, high school kids who will engage in, let's pick a word for safety's sake, publicity stunts to gain notoriety on their Twitter feeds, so that they can score a name, image, likeness. What contractual requirements? Remember, Virginia has some contract law that will limit how much a teenager under the age of 18 can enter into contracts without their parents being a co-signatory to it. And then you wind up opening up the obviously potentiality for a Britney Spears kind of situation, where the parents then wind up in court because the charge is saying, well, you didn't you didn't do right by me, and you kept me out of these many deals, and so on and so forth. As you can see, what it does, but it is definitely a Pandora's box, and we are going to do some more with what parents need to be watching out for as time goes on. Now, we do have an attorney joining us, but that's not what he's prepped to talk about, is contract law or anything like that. He is with the great Virginia law firm Allen, and Allen, if I'm not mistaken, and they have their annual Hometown Heroes program, and I appreciate him joining us on the program, and he is Richard Armstrong. Sir, welcome to the program. How are you doing today, sir? I guess camera's not on. We'll leave it on me until his camera gets set up there. Mr. Armstrong, how are you doing, sir? I don't think we have his audio yet. Let's mute and unmute. See, I'm usually the one that does that, for those who are wondering at home whether or not it's me or them. Oh, there we go. Now we have Mr. Armstrong. And, sir, thank you so much for taking some time out with us. And thank you again for your annual Hometown Heroes program. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Joe. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So, and for folks who don't know what the Hometown Heroes, obviously the name is self-explanatory, but this is decades now going at Allen and Allen. What prompted the law firm to start recognizing people who go above and beyond the call of duty in their day-to-day lives to benefit their communities?
You know, it's great, Joe. We started this in 2010 to celebrate the firm's 100th anniversary. And since then, it's just kept on going. Every year, you know, you think, well, there can't be anybody else out there that qualifies to be a hometown hero. But every year, you know, we get these great nominees and stuff. And over the years, we've been honored more than 500 individuals. So it's been a great experience for me to meet all these people, and a great experience for the firm to honor these people. So, yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, and certainly you start to wonder that, and then something like COVID-19 comes along, and that completely changed the paradigm quite a bit. How many folks on an annual basis do you commemorate with a Hometown Heroes recognition?
You know, it's probably somewhere between 20 and 40, I think. It depends. You know, in our area, it's usually 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, you know. So we did the surrounding counties, and Louvain, Nelson, Scottsville, everywhere.
So now is the time for people to nominate people that they know, people who have touched their lives. Richard, you know, what are the criteria for these nominations for a hometown hero, or are there any? And is it just, you know, go online to allenandallen.com and tell the story?
Well, they definitely want to go online to allenandallen.com to tell the story. The principles that we look for are the principles that our firm was founded on: service, care, compassion, community, and family. So somebody's demonstrating any of those things, we're welcome to. We're looking forward to hearing about them.
And there is no like limitation or categories, different types, corporate citizenship, individual. I mean, it's just any stories in every story, correct?
That's right. Over the years, we've had teachers, firefighters. We've had people who run, you know, food pantries. We've had people who do animal rescue. Terrific program where in Charlottesville called All Blessings Flow, where they take, you know, used medical equipment and refurbish it and then make it available to people who can't afford, you know, things like wheelchairs and crutches and things like that. I mean, just anything you can think of where people are sort of stepping up and making the community better. Those people should be nominated.
Did you ever wonder, did you ever consider, you know, at some point after all these years, you talk about 23 years now of, 13 years now of doing this, Richard, that at some point, not that I'd want a commission or anything, or that I have the free time to write it, but compiling all these stories in a book. I mean, people make, you go to any bookstore and you're just going to see entire rows of inspirational stories, and I think just publishing the history of Allen and Allen's Hometown Heroes Volume 1, you know, could be quite something for the community.
I think you're onto something, Joe. Maybe you and I should co-write it.
Yeah,
But
it's your idea, not mine. I already have too much work to do. But I'm serious because
people
you
can go
think
on
of
our.
those.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was talking to.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
go ahead.
No, people can go on our website and see all the way back the different nominees and different people that have won. Not just in this area, but Richmond and Petersburg and all the sort of area that
Hmm.
Allen and Allen serves. So yeah, it's kind of published already on the website if people want to go see those.
So, what? And I don't want. It's like saying which one of your kids is your favorite. Richard Anderson from Allen and Allen is on with us, but the nominations are beginning now. How long do they run to? Before I ask you the standard operating procedure question about the nominations you've seen in the past, how long does the nomination period run for?
It runs from May 1 to May 31. So they've got this whole month to go on and make a nomination. And then the announcements are made on July 17. And then we have that great celebration at Fridays After 5 later in the summer where all the nominees are invited to come and we introduce them to the crowd and everything. So that's really a fun experience.
No, it's absolutely, and the best part is so many of these people are doing this because they're driven to. It's not for the recognition, and it's nice to be able to give the recognition, and again, do it online at allen.allen.com. So now here I come to ask you to pick one, for your favorite children. What are some of the highlight stories over the years? And really, maybe obscure stories that somebody might know someone and say, oh, that's not a hometown hero kind of story. But if they are impacting somebody's life positively, even if it's the matter of going over to a neighbor when the power is out and saying, hey, why don't you come to my house? I have a generator. I mean, these are, from very small little things, which could be massive. What are some of the ones that stand out in your mind?
Well, it's great you're asking that. I mean, like, for example, I'm looking at Marion Dixon, who moved to Nelson County from Tidewater and basically runs now the Nelson County Pantry. And they feed more than 300 households a month, 15,000 pounds of food a month that go through there. You want to get out of sort of that kind of treatment. We also have the folks who started the Ravenna River Company, which brings people back down to the river where you can basically get launched out there and have a great day on the river. There was a volunteer firefighter from Scottsville who had served for 45 years.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, I don't have his name right now, but he was great. Margaret Thacker with the Cedars Healthcare Center has been volunteering for 41 years, helping the elderly and disabled there. So just amazing people. It's hard to pick favorites, but every year they come up with some other great people.
And I'm sure you all who are watching or listening know somebody who's done that, who's had that impact. Can you nominate family members? Can you? I guess it's kind of weird, but I guess you could nominate yourself. But I don't know how often that happens, Richard.
I'm not sure that happens much, but they can nominate family members. They can nominate best friends. They can nominate just people that they've run into in their day-to-day life.
And again, online at allenandallen.com, and there's an easy to follow link. Look for the two hands held up there. The logo is pretty obvious. It's right there on your screens as you're watching as well. So I appreciate it, Richard. Thank you so much again for your time, and we look forward to talking to you again as the nominations go on, and then as July comes around and we start to get towards the recipients of these nominations, because winner just doesn't seem like the right word. I mean, the winners are the people who receive the help.
That's right. That's right. These are the people who are selfless actors, helping everybody else around.
Amen to that.
And we appreciate you too, Joe. You're a hero too for bringing the people's attention. So we appreciate it.
Yeah, don't let my kids hear that. They're like, no, we work so hard to keep Dad's head in the enormity that it's in already. But Richard, thank you so much, sir. You have a great day.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
And thank you for joining us this week on this afternoon for the Afternoon Constitutional. We will be back here tomorrow for all the fun and games. And again, if you have something you want to throw in there, by all means, call in with it as well, and we'll get you on the air. So until tomorrow afternoon at 3 or tomorrow morning at 5 for the radio show, so long, and thanks for all the fish.